It's the CalebDMTG Show.
By me, CalebDMTG, we are on to the artifacts. Automated Artificer. 2 mana artifact creature artificer. Tap, add a Ecologist. Spend this mana only to activate an ability or cast an artifact spell. It's a 1/3. 2 mana for a 1/3 isn't crazy. Especially because some decks are gonna just like want to have artifacts in there. So they can have an artifact and an enchantment trigger, you know? So just having some random bodies, even if you don't want to tap for the mana, even if you don't want to use it as a ramp card. Just to help you hit requirements. And then of course if you are like dedicated artifact, this card could be kind of cool too. Actually use the ability. Hey Bob got the Warbarian, thanks to 48 months. Chastity 92, thanks to 8 months. A 1/3 is often like much better than it looks, just as a blocker in limited. It's not an early pick or anything like that, but it should be pretty clear when you want it. Bronze Cudgels, 1 mana artifact equipment. 2 mana. Until end of turn, equipped creature gets +X/+0, where X is the number of times his ability has resolved this turn. And then equip 1. Weird. So it plays cheaply, it equips cheaply. And then it's got this kind of like exponential growth thing going on. So you activate it for 2 mana and you're only giving it +1/+0. But you could put 4 mana into it. And now you're getting +3/+0. And then if you get 6 mana into it, you're getting +6/+0. And then you put 8 mana into it, you get +10/+0. What? With Tezzeret making it cost 2 less. Tezzeret can only be used once per turn, fortunately, or they'll just go infinite. To mana to modify something. Don't go for 5 times, you won't be able to handle that much power. I don't know if I can do that math. That's just 15 power, right? Zerta doesn't reduce below 1? No. But I mean, this ability costing 1 makes it a lot more exciting, right? 2 mana for +3/+0, 3 mana for +6. Yeah, with Zerta, this could actually just murder somebody. I think it would be too good at 1 mana. And I think if you're just playing this, without a way to reduce the cost, it's like borderline not good enough. Better fire breathing? I don't even know if you can even compare it to fire breathing. Because of how fast it gets out of control. In limited, it's a cheap modify enabler. Yeah, but like, there's cheap modify enablers that actually do something too. This ability isn't really anything, unless you have like an ass load of mana. And most folks aren't gonna like both want to cheap modify and have an ass load of mana to pump something, right? So if you're looking for cheap ways to modify things, like green has a bunch of like ways at common to spread around 1/1 counters. And then like every other equipment that you use is going to give you like an actual boost. Like red's got like a few like random creatures that can give +1/+1. Those all seem like much better than this. If you're looking to modify something on the cheap. I don't think I would draft this card. I would need like a real specific reason to draft this card. It's one of those things where like if you can break it, it's broken. But if you can't break it, it's kind of shit. Is Zerta still in standard? Or all the companions have left by now, right? It's been a long time. Like Scapeshift? Yeah, very similar to Scapeshift in that sense, where it's either like doing nothing or just like winning the game. Brute Suit, 3 mana, artifact vehicle, vigilance, crew 1, 4/3. Y'all remember that vehicle that had like close to these stats? It was like 3 mana, common, crude 1, 4/3, and then it got like +1/+1 and trample when it attacked. It was just like the best common in the set. You wanted as many of them as possible, and you just like ran over everybody. Ah, that card was fucked. A 4/3 is pretty easy to trade with. So this has a real easy crew cost. But it is kind of filler. Untethered. Untethered was the one that would get a +1/+1 counter, and it would slowly grow. I was talking about Renegade Freighter. You hated both of them? Yeah. Yeah, they're both pretty snowbally. Did I just know a card name? No, I read it in chat. I read it in chat, Feinberg. Come on. This is the premium vehicle. This thing, the Brute Suit? No, this card's just filler. You just throw this card into your deck if you're already doing vehicle stuff, or if you have a hole in your 3-drop. You guessed it, Vegetarian. I have indeed reviewed black, red, green, blue, and white. Circuit Bender, 3 mana artifact creature insect. When Circuit Bender enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life. When it leaves the battlefield, draw a card. It's a 2/3. Those are fine abilities. It's just like that dog, right? Why didn't they give us another fucking adorable robot dog? So we've got this like weird bug. It's a fox? Yeah, fox is just a type of dog. Why the bug hate? They're not very cuddly. Kind of gross. Look at this one, it's like spitting up everywhere. Works well with ninjutsu. Yeah, that's true, that's valid. Bully? Yeah, I'm bullying this gross bug. Fixing the circuit. I wish it would stop. I wish it would stop. Stop helping. I'll hire the Geek Squad. We don't need you to like spit up on my things. Hey, Ironsight, thanks for 38 months. This is better than the Fox? Yeah, I mean it's been a few years, right? This is power creep. Power Corrupt Fox. Alright, Containment Construct. 2 mana for a 2/1 artifact creature construct. Whenever you discard a card, you may exile that card from your graveyard. If you do, you may play that card this turn. Oh, I've seen people talking about this one. With like Lion's Eye Diamonds and shit. Because it's not a once a turn thing. Faithless Looting. One with nothing synergy? I mean, with one with nothing, you could just cast the damn cards, right? You don't need to. You don't need to spend a spell to bin them. Good with cycling lands. It is good with cycling lands. Broken as an engine? Yeah, potentially. Very answerable. Someone posted a way to go infinite with it in, with Artificer's Intuition. If you have Artificer's Intuition and like 3 blue mana and an artifact in 2 or 2 in hand, you can like chain a couple LEDs together. And then at the end of the line, you get the reshuffle artifact. It's like 1 mana, 2 mana to activate, shuffle your graveyard back in. Yeah, Elixir of Immortality, and that's it. Because Artificer's Intuition turns into card advantage with this construct in play. Because you get to play the card that you discard and the card that you tutor up. Is this card cube worthy? I mean, you'd have to have a pretty specific cube, right? You'd have to have a lot of discarding going. Like more than just like Faithless Looting or whatever. It would have to be like a thing. Do we like it? I thought Tammy was good, Blue Line, yeah. The uptick is good, and then it ults pretty quickly. What about this card and the draw 3, discard 3 at random? The frustrating thing about the draw 3, discard 3 at random was when you would like discard your hollow ones. I wasn't thinking of Goblin Lore, but that one too. There's a 1 mana thing. It's just like draw 3, discard 3. Goblin Lore was draw 4, discard 3 at random. Yeah, Burning Inquiry. Yeah. Similar thing going on. Pretty funny with either card. Yeah, the Madness deck in Legacy can play Burning Inquiry and Lion's Eye Diamond. Could be interested in this card. And Faithless Looting too, yeah. I mean, I have played Gambly and Faithless Looting in Painter builds before. And there's just like having random artifacts in your Painter deck is kind of neat. Chat's going to convince me to play Duretti again in Legacy. Test out this Containment Construct. It's certainly an interesting card.
Oh shit.
protecting it. Well, that's kind of the cool thing about Painter, is that you're like stressing the opponent's spot removal. And then you also have the Goblin Welder effects to protect your artifacts too. So if your opponent kills this in response to a discard, you can like respond by welding it back into play. Hey, 5 Bishop, thanks for gifting a sub to Hoopa2. Congrats, Hoopa. Drominus Puppet, 4 mana for a 2/4 artifact creature construct. When it enters the battlefield, for each kind of counter on target permanent, put another counter on that kind on it or remove one for it. So this card's interesting. If your opponent's playing, like, in Limited, if your opponent's playing, like, kind of a shitty Saga, just off their creature count, because a lot of the Sagas turn into creatures, you can actually, like, slow it down. Just let them, like, put another land into play or whatever the fuck their terrible Saga is doing. Just, like, adding another suspend counter to the creature, you know? Or you can speed yours up. Besides that, the only other kind of counter that you really want to add another counter of is 1/1 counters in Limited. Which is fine. It's not like really worth a card, you know, 4 mana, 2/4. And then if you have 1 counter on a creature, add another one. Like that by itself would not be quite worth it. But maybe if you have like a lot of shitty Sagas that you want to speed up. Very fillerish, huh? Very fillerish, but it might be better than it looks. Or remove one. Yeah, that's true. You could remove like 1/1 counters from the opponent's stuff, or like their menace counters or whatever the fuck. There are a lot of random counters in this format. Like I said, it might be better than it looks. Rebuy a Saga ability. You could do that. I don't think you're going to want to do that in Limited very often. Most of the Sagas you're playing in Limited, you really just want to get to the last the last part. You really just want to get to the creature part. So I think you're very rarely going to want to remove a counter from one of your own Sagas. I'm not going to say never, but very rarely, I think. It does only target 1 permanent, yeah. Loyalty counter. I mean, the thing about this with Planeswalkers is like you're not going to have a Planeswalker very often, right? So it's like almost not even worth discussing because it'll happen so very rarely. So those things are all mythic. Eater of Virtue, 1 mana legendary artifact equipment. Whenever equipped creature dies, exile it. Equipped creature gets +2/+0. Equip 1. As long as a card exiled with Eater of Virtue has flying, equipped creature has flying. Same is true for First Strike, Double Strike, Death Touch, Haste, Hexproof, Indestructible, Lifelink, Menace, Protection, Reach, Trample, and Vigilance. So a whole host of abilities there. It is a Bone Splitter, right? 1 mana, equip 1, +2/+0. But it is legendary too. So historically, when Bone Splitter has been good, it's been like a 4 of in the decks that want it. You're probably not going to want to play 4 of this card. But it's not bad. I think so long as you have like some of those abilities and you're playing this sort of like aggressive deck that would want a Bone Splitter, it starts to get pretty good. White, for example, is like a lot of really cheap creatures with flying and double strike and all that. A lot of cheap attacking creatures. Probably gonna be the best spot for this card. Some white aggro deck. Urza Saga finds it. I think your head's in the wrong space, Mega Man. I don't think any format where Urza Saga is playable is going to want this card. I think you want to be thinking about... I mean, it's a good Limited card, and I think it'll find a home in Standard. And I don't think it's good for anything else, really. Cube worthy? Yeah, maybe. Could be decent cube. I guess Spike, was playing that Boros aggro deck. Some weird abilities in there. A little bit of first strike. I'd have to look at the list again. But he got a couple trophies with like a Boros aggro deck with Stoneforge Mystic. I think it literally just had first strike in the creature suite. The 1 mana, the Javier. 1 mana 1/1 that could like equip for free if you have enough artifacts or something. Yeah, Fervent Champion. I was thinking of Fervent Champion. Solitude has lifelink. Yeah, that's true. It just doesn't quite seem like enough, right? Haste and first strike. Yeah, that's true. Haste and first strike might be enough. And then double strike off Fury. I still don't think it'll be quite good enough, but that's like the one spot in Modern where I think it might be interesting. Ecologist Terrarium. 2 mana artifact. When enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic lane card, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. 2 mana, sack it, put a 1/1 counter on target creature, activate only as a sorcery. Oh, this card's good. So 2 mana to search your library for a basic lane card isn't like the most exciting fixing. Like Lay of the Land or whatever the fuck. It is colorless though, so your non-green decks get access to fixing. And then it's an artifact that chills in play, or it's a way to modify one of your creatures if you care about that. Or you can just cash it in for value, you know? You might just want a 1/1 counter. So I think this card's really solid. Obviously it gets worse if you already have good mana, or if you don't care about having a random artifact in play, or if you don't care about modify. But that's kind of a lot of stuff, right? Kind of a lot of stuff in this limited format. Yeah, it checks a lot of boxes. That's a good way to put it. High speed hoverbike, 2 mana, artifact vehicle, flash flying. Enters the battlefield, tap up to 1 target creature, crew run, 1/2/2. This vehicle's sweet. You can flash it on the opponent's turn. You just want to tap something down. And then untap, start smacking in. Yeah, I think this card's good. And if there's a standard vehicles deck, it's like borderline good enough for that. Doing enough stuff. Yeah, Bishop, I said that Eater of Virtue would be like playable as like a 2-of in standard in the right standard deck. The right like standard white attacking creature deck. Helps ninjas, the Hoverbike, like talking about it for limited. Yeah, I think pretty much every limited deck's gonna want this. That's just useful. Good in limited, potentially good enough for constructed too. Especially if there is a constructed vehicles deck. Helps the ninjas get in multiple times. Yeah, that's true. You like tap down their blocker, then the Hoverbike goes back to your hand because you're using it for ninjutsu. Then you get to replay it again, tap down their blocker again. It does kind of go infinite with ninjas. Really good point. Yeah, the more that I think about it, the more I think it's like just like a straight up first pickable card, It like helps ninjas, but you don't have to be a ninjas for it to be good. It's just like a good card otherwise too. Iron Apprentice, 1 mana artifact creature construct. This battlefield with 1/1 counter on it. If it dies, if it counters on it, put those counters on target creature you control. This card's kind of great. This card's kind of great because of what red is doing in the format. Red wants to sacrifice artifacts, and then it also wants to have modified creatures. And this does both of those things. It's a modified creature like in and of itself, and then when you sack it, you still have a modified creature somewhere else. You still get to move that value. And it's good sack fodder. I think red is like craving sack fodder. It does the thing, yeah. Mech Titan Core, 2 mana artifact vehicle. 5 mana, exile Mech Titan Core and 4 other artifact creatures and or vehicles you control. Create Mech Titan, a legendary 10/10 construct artifact creature token with flying, vigilance, trample, lifelink, and haste. It's all colors. When that token leaves the battlefield, return all cards exiled with Mech Titan Core except Mech Titan Core to the battlefield tapped under the owner's control. Crew 2, and it's a 2/4.
Oh shit, what up?
It's so simple. Hey, Chungtastic, thanks for the sub. I think this card could have used a few more lines of text. I think the 10/10 needed a few more abilities, personally. What do you even say about this thing? I feel bad for whoever spoiled it. I tease, of course. I gotta spoil this card, and I was very happy about it. It's certainly an exciting card, right? It's doing a lot of cool things. And it's got that that Voltron aspect that a lot of Magic players really love. A lot of nice nostalgia. For like the Power Ranger thing.
What up?
Hey, Paul Point Ben, thanks for the sub, thanks for the 7 months. It is a lot of text, but it is easy to understand, yeah. Something really cool about this card, flavor-wise, is how, like, the different... Like, the 10/10 is all colors, and you're getting different abilities from all those different colors. And those different abilities are going to be, like, its arms or its legs and stuff. Like red legs for haste, blue wings for flying, trample and lifelink from the arms. So in terms of this card for constructed play, I don't think it's going to be good enough. And the reason I don't think it's going to be good enough is just because you've got a 2 mana, the base before you get to activate and do the thing, is not quite good enough to be like a real card, right? It's 2 mana for a 2/4 with Crew 2. And even though the ceiling is quite strong, you know, you get that 10/10 or whatever, you kind of do need your cards to be cards. And 2 mana for a Crew 2 2/4 is like a little on the embarrassing side. That said, if you are building your whole deck around doing the thing, if you're building your whole deck around like vehicle synergies anyway, then just playing this as the last vehicle and activating immediately is totally fine, because the 10/10's going to have, you know, haste. And it'll be a sick one to top deck off the top too, while you just like draw it from this board that's like kind of stalled out. Get the flip smack in there. Hey, Maze's End, thanks to the tier 3, thanks to the 61 months there. Glad you're enjoying the set review. I'm gonna ignore the Kataki comment. That's true. Enter the battlefield creatures are sweet. Get to reuse those. There's certainly some vehicles with comes to play abilities, as well as artifact creatures. They do have to be artifact creatures. It's 4 other artifact creatures and or vehicles. So it's a lot. Your deck basically has to be using artifact creatures to crew the vehicles to make this card kind of consistent. And the 10/10 doesn't really protect itself. It doesn't have hexproof or indestructible or anything like that. I'm reminded of that 9/7, right? There's that land, what was it, Westvale Abbey? For 5 mana, it would tap to make a 1/1. And you would lose a life, or then you could like sack 5 creatures with it or something, and it would flip into a 9/7 with flying, haste, lifelink. And that card saw a lot of play, but it saw a lot of play for a few different reasons. 1, putting a land in your mana base is relatively free. 2, it turned itself on by creating tokens. And then 3, there were a lot of like token production things going on in that format too. And then it had indestructible on top of it, so once you like sacked your board to flip it, your opponent could answer it with an exile effect, but it also did like protect itself pretty well. So I don't think this card is on that level, is what I'm getting at. Just like without doing the thing, it's not as free as like putting land in your mana base, because you actually have to have it in your deck as like a real card that you draw. Against the odds card, yeah, and against the odds card. Or, you know, I mean, I think the best home is if you're playing like a Brawl deck or an EDH deck that has like a vehicle thing going on. In that sort of environment, it just seems like way more likely that you'll get to do the thing. And it's way less of a feel bad if you draw this card and it's not like amazing immediately. Whereas if you're playing like a try-hard constructed deck, where your opponent's playing like a ton of disruption, and you just like need all of your cards to have some inherent value aside from their ceiling. Anyway, that's about all I have to say about Mech Titan Core. Super sweet card. People talking about copying the tokens. Yeah. You know, EDH stuff. You wonder how cool the token looks? The token looks pretty cool. They let me spoil it. So it's on my Twitter. If you go to my Twitter account, it's back there, a few tweets. Mirror Box. 3-mana artifact. The legend rule does not apply to permanents you control. Each legendary creature you control gets +1/+1/+1. And then each non-token creature you control gets +1/+1 for each other you control with the same name as that creature. So an anthem for legend cards. But potentially a double anthem. You start playing multiples. You think this card will be worth some bucks just for casual types? It doesn't actually seem like that good of an EDH card, right? Because this wants you to be playing like multiples of the same name. I guess it works with clones. Is Shrines a thing? I think Shrines are very good and limited. If you get like a few of them. I don't think it's going to be a thing in Constructed. Do I still have that deck with all the Squadron Hawks? Oh, just to like Coat of Arms your Squadron Hawks? Hey, what about that, what about that fucking... that ley line that makes everything a legend? And make some real fucking jacked up Hawks. Anyway. Cool card, doing cool things. It doesn't read like a constructed card, but it certainly is powerful. Enough people fuck around with like Mox Opals and shit, then who knows, huh? Who knows? This with Kiki, so the Kiki can copy itself over and over. That's fucking interesting. Maybe you could build like Goblin Legends. That doesn't work. Does it? Why not? Oh, Kiki can't target itself because of how it's worded. It's not a matter of the legend rule. You said it works well with Shadowborn Apostles. With that fucking card. Okay, okay. Yeah, or a rat deck, huh? Or a rat deck. It's a Tachibo, Short Bus All-Star. TCHIBO. Yeah, I'm down to fuck with Rat Colony. Do I still like it? That coffee machine? The water needs to be refilled more than I would like. The water needs to be refilled like every other day, which is not like that big of a hassle. And everything else about the machine is like really convenient and intuitive. So I'd say overall, yes, I do still like it. Anyway, next card, Network Terminal. 3 mana artifact. Tap, add 1 mana of any color. 1 colorless. Tap another untapped artifact you control. Draw a card, then discard a card. This card seems good. Just random mana rocks can be good enough in the right style of control deck, right? Like, not exciting, but sometimes you just want some colorless fixing. Some colorless ramp. And then the activated ability, the 1 to tap, also helps keeping you from just like flooding the fuck out in the late game. But it's not busted like Bonder's Ornament, right? A nice little card. Not like a super early pick or anything like that, but like if you want it, you can draft it early. If you need it. I'm definitely gonna be drafting some decks where I'm just gonna be like, where's the fucking Network Terminal? I need it. It does cast the Kami War. Exactly. I like where your head's at, Cody Sizzle. I like it. Ninja's Kunai. 1 mana artifact equipment. Equipped creature has 1 tap, sacrifice Ninja's Kunai. Ninja's Kunai deals 3 damage to any target. Equip 1. No, this is a cheap way to modify a creature that actually like does something if you need it to. Card's solid. Not the best removal spell ever. It kind of reminds me of that torch from original Innistrad. They could like sack to shock something. 3 damage to any target's kind of real. 3 damage to any target, like that's a relevant amount of reach. Just like hit someone in the face with what's usually a removal spell. Yeah, Blazing Torch, exactly. Very similar to that card, right? Lightning Spear, a little cheaper than Lightning Spear, but that's also a good comparison. Yeah, card seems good. Papercraft Decoy, and 2 mana artifact creature Frog. Leaves the battlefield, you may pay 2 if you do draw a card. It's a 2/1. Interesting. Yeah, if you didn't have to pay 2, you could just, like, put a shitload of these into your deck. Kind of risk-free.
Oh shit, what up?
Oh shit, what up? Hey, Basic Swamp, 6 to 18 months there. Not as good as the Insect? Oh yeah, definitely not as good as the Insect. It's also a common, and the Insect's a uncommon. You know, this is a 2-drop, and that's a 3-drop. But yeah, worse than the Enchantment Dog too. But not the worst filler. If you need a 2-drop, right, there are worse things to have than like a 2-drop that can also potentially get value out of at some point. It's cuter than the Insect. Yeah, sort of. Little origami thing. Gonna give you paper cuts. Ninjutsu Synergy. Oh, because it's leave the battlefield instead of dies. Yeah, that's a good point, too. Some of the ninjutsu cards are pretty cheap. Could work out. Free with Tez? Oh, yeah. That'll come up a lot. Fucking slam it. Patchwork Automaton. 2-mana artifact creature construct. Ward 2. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, put a 1/1 counter on Patchwork Automaton. It's a 1/1. Yeah, I mean, if you have enough of them, right? If you have enough of them. This reminds me a lot of that that 3-mana 1/1 where you would name a creature type, and then every time you played a creature of that type, it would get a 1/1 counter. And there were decks where that card was kind of reasonable. I think that'll be the similar thing with Patchwork, where you're just like not going to play this in every deck. But once you get enough artifacts, it starts to be reasonable. I think you need like 7 or 8 plus other artifacts in your deck. A large man with Ward 2. Yeah, how large is it gonna get though? Thinking about it for limited right now. In Constructed, it almost seems like a card that would fit in Hardened Scales. Like, probably not, but almost. Yeah, the fact that in Modern, it takes your opponent, like, 3 mana to bolt it is actually, like, kind of real with the Ward 2. I would not say that this would fit at every affinity list. Oh, you're saying it would fit, but it wouldn't be good enough? But yeah, I see what you're saying now. Yeah, that's where my head went to. MTG Nerdbot is like potentially a card for Scales. My hunch is that it's not going to be good enough, but I don't think it's crazy to try it out. Scales is kind of good right now, too. Emery and Bobble. You can play this, like, pretty easy off an Ancient Tomb. Turn 1 Ancient Tomb, play this. Drop a bunch of Bobbles, cycle them. Yeah, maybe it's better than it looks. It's true that Steel Overseer isn't really played anymore. And Hardened Scales has gone like hard on the construct archetype before, but they haven't really lately. I think if this does see play over something like Steel Overseer, it's going to be because the Ward 2 is a little bit better than it looks. Yeah, interesting. Alright, Reckoner Bankbuster. 2 mana for an artifact vehicle. Enters the battlefield with 3 charge counters on it. 2, tap. Remove a charge counter from Reckoner Bankbuster. Draw a card. Then if there are no charge counters on it, create a treasure token and a 1/1 colorless pilot token with this creature crew's vehicles, as those power were 2 greater. Crew 3, 4/4. I saw Seth comparing this to the other 2 mana artifact, where you can like tap to put a counter on it to scry, or 2 mana tap to draw a card, and then when you do it 4 times, it exiles itself, and you gain 4 life. Yeah, Mazemind Tome, that's right. He said this just seems like a better Mazemind Tome. I'm not sure I agree with that. Like, you're drawing 1 less card, because you get 3 charge counters instead of being able to go up to 4. You're not gaining life at the end. And then a lot of the times you're playing Mazemind Tome, one of the cool things about it is it lets you keep like a wider range of hands, right? If you have 2 lands, it can like scry you to land number 3. You get like 2 scries before you draw for your 3rd land drop. And you end up doing that a lot, especially if you're under like a lot of pressure. And then the gaining 4 life at the end helps you against that pressure. This card doesn't gain you 4 life at the end, but it does give you a treasure token and a pilot. And the pilot is good with other copies of the card. So it's certainly not nothing. So I wouldn't say that like one of them is like strictly worse than the other. I think the decks that are playing Mazemind Tome are not going to want to switch over to this card though. It's a 4/4 versus pressure. It's not really. it's not really a 4/4 versus pressure, because you need to have something that can crew it, right?
Shit, what up?
If you can crew 3, you already have a blocker. Hey Preeves, thanks for the sub, thanks for the 30 months. Yeah, it's a good point. If you block with it the turn you play it, then you also can't activate to draw. Tome is not standard legal. No. Yeah, so we were talking about the card for Historic right there. The pilot token is a thing throughout the set, Peter. Yeah, there's a few different cards that spit out the pilot tokens, make crewing vehicles pretty easy. So it draws 3 cards, and then it starts turning into like a mirror incubator. Or not mirror incubator. That was a 6 mana one. There was like a 3 mana token producer. I think I'm thinking of Nuisance Engine. Or Pest something. Yeah, I'm thinking of this thing. Obviously, 1/1s are better than 0/1s. And the ability to crew works well with it and other copies of it. It doesn't keep creating copies. Oh yeah, you have to remove a charge counter to activate it. That's a good point. You're only getting 1. Yeah, I guess I'm not that high on this card. Interesting for like a standard vehicle deck. Kind of like how I was talking about the that uncommon one earlier. The limited format does look very slow auto E-beam. I think you're right that it's going to be an incredible limited card. In Tezzeret, it draws for 0. Sure. Yeah, getting to activate for free the turn the Tezzeret comes down isn't the worst.
Oh, shit.
If you get to untap with your Tezzeret, though, like, you're probably already winning. Hey, Ragnarok, thanks for the sub, thanks for the 12 months. Yeah, we discussed the Maze Mind Tome comparison already, Ragnarok. I think it comes up lacking in comparison to that one. I think Maze Mind Tome is like a much better control card. And that was the main place the Maze Mind Tome saw play. But it did show up in a couple random mid-range shells. Especially in color combinations that couldn't support, like, blue draw spells, right? So, like, red-black control, playing Maze Mind Tome. This Bankbuster card could do something similar. Yeah, I could see it in something like Big Red. Where you're playing, like, mid-range creatures that aren't bad for crewing it, too. It doesn't really remind me of Treasure Map much. The fact that you're only getting, like, one treasure at the end of it. And Treasure Map, like, also, like, put a land into play. It was pretty real. Brighto Sentinel, 3 mana for a 3/3 artifact creature construct, defender. When it enters the battlefield, target player mills 3 cards. And then 3 mana, put target card from a graveyard on the bottom of its owner's library. So... This looks like a Sam Black win condition to me. I don't know how good it's going to be for everybody else. The last condition does fizzle reanimation spells and prevent you from decking. And if you have a shuffle effect, you can put like some of your best cards back in and like thicken your deck that way rather than pulling bad cards out. You think it's weird as an uncommon? I mean, I don't think it's weird as an uncommon. Not an uncommon for power level. But as a common, it might make the mill strategy too good. Like, it would kind of like create a strategy all on its own. And maybe they don't want that. Especially in a slower format. That might be a little dangerous. And also, the number of decks that want this is limited because it's got Defender. Because the activated ability is kind of niche. So I actually like it as an uncommon. Not because it's like... Not because of power level concerns. But then because you're not, like, flooding it in packs, you know? It's not like everyone's last pick or whatever. Exactly, Otto. You don't want this in every pack. When you're designing a limited format. Alright. Runaway Trashbot. 3 mana for an artifact creature construct. Trample. It gets +1/+1 for each artifact and or enchantment card in your graveyard. It's an 0/4. That's a fun card. Plays well with the red-black sacrifice stuff. And 3 mana for an 0/4, like, isn't a useless as a blocker. And then once you get this juiced up a little bit, actually start crashing on in there. I don't think this is like a super early pick or anything like that, but it could be pretty sweet in some decks. Plays well with channel artifacts. I don't think there's a ton of channel artifacts. But I do think red wants to be sacrificing artifacts. And I do think there's like fodder for that. Searchlight Companion, 3-mana artifact creature drone, flying. When it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 colorless spirit creature token. And it's a 1/1 itself. So the 1/1 that it creates does not have flying. Yeah, the 1/1 it creates isn't an artifact either. Huh. I think I'd be interested in this card if it made a 1/1 artifact. For the same sort of shell that I was just talking about with the trash bot, right? Where you're like desperate for sack fodder. It's not terrible. It's not like a terrible card. But it's a little fillerish. Or 1/1 enchantment. I mean, if it was an artifact that made an enchantment, it would be like a little too good. It'd be a little too good at satisfying that condition, I'm kind of glad it's not that. Ninjutsu target? Yeah, that's a good point. Not a bad ninjutsu card. Because getting like any value at all from the creature that you're using with ninjutsu is pretty strong. Ninjas do need the flying. Good point. Shrine Steward, 5-mana artifact creature construct. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for an aura or shrine card. Reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. 3/2. Yeah, at 5 mana, this is like kind of a lot. It's value, and like value is always good, and it's a slow format. But I think you're mostly just playing this to go get shrines. I guess in sealed, if you had a couple of aura spells that were like removal spells, then maybe you have the time to play this and get value out of it. Overall, I'm not very excited about it, though. If this was a 4-mana card, I think I'd be like kind of excited about it, but 5 mana for a 3/2. You kind of need to have your 5-mana cards have more of an impact on the board, I think. So unless you're doing the shrine thing specifically, whereas like, in that case, finding the shrines and pairing them together is like really, really strong. Unless you're doing that specifically, then I'm not really interested in this card. Search Hacker Mech, 4-mana for an artifact vehicle, Menace. When it enters the battlefield, it deals damage equal to twice the number of vehicles you control the target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. And then crew 4, 5/5. I think this card's good. Twice the number of vehicles you control. Twice the number. So it's always at least shocking something. And then, like, one other vehicle, all of a sudden you're in, like, Flametongue Kavu range. And the body you're getting is a lot better than Flametongue Kavu, right? I mean, you need something to crew it, but then you've got Menace and a 5/5. And you're playing in a deck that, like, wants to have other vehicles. You're playing in a vehicle-type deck. Worth noting that it comes in a playability that works well with Mech Titan Core. Yeah, I think this card's good. It's like obviously good and limited, but then if there's a standard vehicle deck, I think you're gonna be playing 4 of this thing. Vehicles can crew other vehicles, they cannot crew themselves. Crew 4, there's a 1-drop in white that crews 4. The 1-mana 2/1. I'm pretty sure if you're building vehicles, you're playing 4 of that card. Yeah, sweet card. Good card. Is the Ox still legal? I think the Ox is still legal. Yeah, I'm kind of feeling like vehicles is going to be a thing too. Thundersteel Colossus, 7 mana for an artifact vehicle, trample, haste, crew 2. Wait, this is only crew 2?
Oh shit, what up?
I think this is going to happen in limited with that fixed tinker, because this is a common. It's kind of a slow format too. Like I think this card might just be fine, even if you're not cheating it into play. Hey, Euripides 13, thanks to the sub, thanks to the 26 months. I think this card's gonna end some fucking games, that's what I think. Someone told me there was like a 7 mana, 7/7 trample haste vehicle. And I was like, oh, okay. Like in my head, I'm like, okay, so it's gonna be like crew 6 or some like a ungodly shit. But crew 2 makes it look a hell of a lot more reasonable, huh? Like fucking anything crews this. You're gonna die to this a lot? I'm gonna kill people with this a lot, so. Could this be good in Pauper? Nah. Creatures just aren't very good in Pauper. Like for example, the 8 mana Eldrazi that annihilates for 2, 8 mana 8/8 that annihilates for 2, is like not really seeing play anymore. It used to see like a ton of play. Just not efficient enough. Yeah, the removal's too good, exactly. I also think this is good for a common. If the format was faster, it'd be harder for decks to get to 7 mana. But I think the format's gonna be kind of slower, and I think it's gonna be real easy for decks to get to 7 mana. So I think a lot of decks are gonna want like one of these as their like top end cap. Could be wrong, obviously. Analysis can change once you actually get to play with the cards. That's just what I'm thinking. Just what I'm thinking right now. Tawashi Guidebot, 4 mana, artifact creature construct. When it enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. 4 mana, tap, draw a card. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each modified creature you control. 2/1. So with my analysis that I think this format's kind of slower, this card might be good. This is the sort of card where, like, the slower the format is, the better it gets. You do get some value with that 1/1 counter. So the ability to draw a card is, like, at its base 3 mana. Right, exactly. It costs 3 just by itself. So it shouldn't be hard for a lot of decks to just like get it down to just like tap, draw a card, which is pretty reasonable for a 4 mana 2/1. And then like putting a 1/1 counter on something isn't nothing. Like we saw a common earlier. There was like a 4 mana 3/3 that just like put a 1/1 counter on a creature when it came into play, and we thought that was like a good card. Obviously, a 4 mana 2/1's a lot different from a 4 mana 3/3. But this is a good ability. It's a real good ability. I do think the format's slow enough for it. Walking Skyscraper, 8 mana, artifact creature construct. And then obviously if the format ends up being like quite a bit faster than I thought, then you just like don't have time for something like this. So it's a card that goes from like being like close to a bomb to being close to unplayable, depending on the speed of the format. But right now I think it's gonna be closer to a bomb. Walking Skyscraper, 8 mana for an artifact creature construct, costs 1 less to cast for each modified creature you control, trample, and has hexproof as long as it's untapped. Yeah, similar reason that I think this card is gonna be great. This card also seems pretty sweet. If you just have fucking like 2 modified creatures, which is not hard at all, there's like green cards that spread out 2 1/1 counters. This is 6 mana for an 8/8 trampler. I think you can draft this card real aggressively, build around it, and slam it before the opponent can deal with it. It does have trample, right? Yeah, exactly, Draconis. Casting this for like 5 or 6 makes it like kind of bomb level. And then if you have to pay more, that's still like totally fine. All right. I'm gonna take a really quick break before we get into lands. Mostly because I have to pee. I'll be back in a minute.